Strawberry Frappuccinos and a Black Leather Jacket. Chapter 6. Tears of Heartbreak, Alya's Spite. Written and narrated by Eleanor Rose. Artwork by Marlene Bruus. Due to the nature of the complexity between being good and being nice, there is an additional author's note at the end of this chapter. Marinette, relax. He's just being a guy, Alya said, trying to coax her friend out from underneath her blanket. Marinette made some form of noise that didn't hold any meaning. Alya sighed, knowing she had to do the hard thing to get Marinette out of the blanket she had been under for the last hour. The Thai food was delivered and had since gotten cold, abandoned on the side table. Alya was all about giving people time to process, but enough was enough. Sometimes the nice thing to do wasn't the good thing to do, and sometimes to be good, you have to make bold decisions even if they make you look mean. Well, this drink has melted, so I guess I'll throw it away. Alya grabbed the melted strawberry drink that was an accomplice to Marinette's meltdown. She went back and forth between excitement, confusion, depression, and tears. In that order, since she got home. No! Marinette exclaimed, popping out of her blanket. Alya, don't! Alya turned around, the melted drink held above her head and her mouth turned downwards in a frown. Marinette, she said. Enough is enough. She recoiled from the tone in Alya's voice. Alya was her best friend and always treated Marinette with care, so for her to use that tone with her meant that she meant it. Marinette hesitated, wanting to retreat into the blanket, but stayed because doing so meant losing the Adrien drink forever. The drink he made for her. Just for her. Her face turned pink as her emotions reset again, balancing between excitement and bawling. Alya sighed and sat back down on the bed, handing Marinette the drink. Are you going to finish this, or should I put it in the fridge? She spoke with a softer tone now, to remind Marinette that she was her best friend with her best interests in mind. Fridge, Marinette mumbled, tears forming in her eyes from being scolded. Okay. Alya got up and went downstairs to put the drink away. It didn't look appealing anymore. The whipped cream had all but dissolved into the drink so that it was a puce color, but knowing Marinette, she would still keep the cup that held it as a precious memento of Adrien Agreste, the boy with the umbrella. Alya debated putting it in sideways as she stood in front of the open fridge so it would spill everywhere. She knew better than anyone that Adrienette, as she liked to call it, wouldn't happen. Adrien was already in a happy relationship. Who was Marinette to take that away from him? They could have a remarkable, pure, wholesome relationship that would benefit both of them. But it wasn't morally right to tear apart a perfectly healthy, pre-existing relationship. It would be different if the girlfriend were a horrible person, but Adrien didn't seem like the kind of guy who would date one. Sighing, Alya tipped the drink as she put it in the fridge. She knew Marinette would take the spilled drink as a sign that her feelings were doomed. Perhaps that would be better than Alya telling her personally. She felt remorse once the drink hit the bottom of the fridge. Who was she to play God with her friend's feelings? Wasn't she supposed to protect and support her? The right thing to do isn't always the nice thing to do, Alya told herself. It's for her own good. She slammed the door shut and heard the contents inside wiggle. Oops, too hard. Hope Marinette didn't hear that. Alya went back to Marinette's room to find her sitting on her bed with her blanket wrapped around her, her head poking out. A mix of rage and guilt flared up when she saw Marinette's face, bubbled over in tears. She sat down next to her and wrapped her arms around the blanket burrito. They stayed together in silence as the minutes ticked by, an occasional sob or groan, borderline a wail, emerging from Marinette, followed by a squeeze of reassurance from Alya. Alya didn't know if you could fall in love with someone without dating them. But if you could, then this is what it must look like. She used to think that it was probably the hardest trial a person could have, but Adrien Agreste proved her wrong. The hardest trial is seeing the potential and nurturing hope, only to have it ripped away from you for moral reasons. Reasons that you can't fight without becoming a horrible person. I just don't understand. Marinette choked on a sob, breaking the silence. He has a girl already. So why is he so... She began to hiccup, as though her body was trying to reject her emotions. All this over a drink? Alya asked, keeping her voice low and gentle, curious about what was actually wrong. She had never seen Marinette upset like this. It's not just that, Alya. Marinette continued to hiccup. You said we should meet at the teacups. That's where I go for comfort. That means you had bad news. And you were with Adrien. So that means the bad news was about Adrien. About him dating that girl. I bet you were going to tell me that I don't have a chance. That we should stop going to his cafe. Marinette began to blubber as her thoughts tumbled out, her sentences shortened and controlled by her labored breathing as she tried to communicate through her tears. Alya sat there in shock. She didn't realize that Marinette put all of that together, but it explained her tears. Another pang of guilt blanketed itself over the one already making itself at home at the bottom of her stomach because of the spilled drink. I'm sorry. It was all Alya could think to say to her friend's troubles. She was sorry she egged on this crush Marinette has for him. Sorry she prodded Adrien to see how much he liked his girlfriend. Sorry that she called Marinette to tell her the news instead of letting her figure it out on her own. Sorry that she couldn't do more for her heartbroken friend that was crying her heart out. It's okay, Marinette sniffled, beginning to regain control of her body. I love you and you're my best friend. You always have my best interests in mind. Yeah. I bet you planned on taking me on all the scary fast rides so that the adrenaline would push out all of the adrenaline, right? Marinette tried to chuckle as she wiped her face off with her blanket. Had the mood been better, Alya probably would have died of laughter at Marinette's pun, but the pit in her stomach prevented her from doing so. She could only muster a small, weak smile. I guess from now on you won't be taking any more umbrellas from cute strangers, huh? Alya tried to crack her own joke. She got a small chuckle from her best friend, who was now unwrapping herself from the blanket. How's my mascara? Marinette laughed. Do I look like a panda? Spitting image. Great. I was trying to find a way to celebrate my Chinese roots. Alya couldn't contain her laughter at that joke. Soon both girls were laughing together and swapping jokes as though Adrien Agreste didn't exist and their world was comprised of bad jokes, cute clothes, and cold Thai food. They ended up putting a movie on, some chick flick from the 80s. Marinette engaged throughout the film, but now and then would go quiet. Alya didn't have to look over to know that Marinette was crying silent tears. To Alya, those tears were silent but deadly. It was then that the anger hit. She was furious with Adrien. She was mad at the winks he gave out like candy. She was mad at the nicknames he called Marinette. She was mad at the honey-smooth lines he was able to deliver, as if they were cued. She was mad that he gave away his umbrella to a young, impressionable stranger of a girl. She was mad that he noticed Marinette's favorite fruit was strawberries. She was mad that he had spent hours trying to make her a drink that he knew she would like. She was mad because Adrien Agreste wasn't a nice person. She was mad because Adrien Agreste was a good person. Nice guys hold the door for you. Nice guys compliment your clothes and call you nicknames. Nice guys wink at you in hopes that you'll flirt back. Nice guys have ulterior motives. But Adrien Agreste didn't have ulterior motives, unless you labeled the desire to leave the world a little better than you found it an ulterior motive. All of his words were pure, his actions innocent. Good guys give their umbrellas to girls in the rain, or are getting soaked because they're using their coat to keep their project dry without expecting anything in return. Good guys spend hours making something that would make their friend happy just because it would make them happy, not because he wanted anything more back than his friend's excitement. Good guys talk about their ladies as if they're their whole world and don't ignore or even notice other girls flirting with them. Good guys pay special attention to their friends so that they can make sure something as small as a strawberry can be the highlight of the week. Adrien Agreste was the rare breed. A good guy who also did nice things. It made Alya mad because he had done nothing wrong except leaving the world a little better than he found it. She was mad that Marinette didn't meet him first because she knew that they were right for each other. She knew they would be a power couple. She also knew that them dating each other now would make them horrible people. That the split emotions that Adrien would develop if Alya pushed the relationship on him would destroy him, to the point that he wouldn't be the little ray of sunshine that makes people around him so happy. Adrien Agreste is already living a happily ever after, but Marinette hasn't even gotten an invitation to her ball, much less meet her fairy godmother. Alya leaned over to kiss Marinette's forehead. A small grunt escaped from her best friend's frame as she existed in the twilight zone of being awake and falling asleep. Seeing her lying there, Alya felt the want to protect her from the reality of the world increase. Chloe probably wasn't a bad person. Good guys don't date horrible people for prolonged periods of time, after all, but Alya didn't care. Her existence hurt Marinette, so in her world, she was an evil existence. Alya took a sharp breath and stiffened her body in surprise. What kind of dark thoughts was she having? Yeah, she loved Marinette and wanted to protect her, but this was a tad dramatic, even for her. Heartbreaks were natural, especially at this age. It sucks that it's Marinette's turn to go through it, but that's just the way life is. Taking a deep breath, Alya tried to calm herself down. It was just a guy. There were plenty more in her future. She could even see if Adrien would help her set Marinette up with Nino. He seemed pretty nice, and she needed to get out there and experience a relationship. Even if she didn't end up dating him, her world of men would expand, if only a little. She would see that Adrien's not the only fluffy little cinnamon roll in this world. That was it. Alya just needed to be Marinette's fairy godmother. It wouldn't be easy, of course, because Marinette had a broken heart to heal. There were 3 ways Alya saw it panning out, and she pursed her lips in contemplation, fluttering above the anger she had felt just moments before. After an internal battle of morals, Alya made her decision. If Alya were going to be Marinette's hero, then she'd have to become Chloe's villain and Adrien's antagonist. Sometimes nice ain't so nice, and good is a blurred line. Pulling out her phone, Alya opened to the contact Adrien Agreste and started typing. Once she confirmed her message was sent, she plugged her phone into her laptop to charge and pulled the blanket over herself to wait for the Sandman to come. If there was anything Alya learned from her love of comics, it was that all villains have their own story, but she wasn't going to tell a soul about hers. End of chapter. Keep listening for a note from the author, and then a sneak peek at next week's part. The quotes on the screen are from Eloise Bell's essay, When Nice Ain't So Nice. I'll leave a link to the article in the description box. There's a difference between nice actions and good actions. Nice actions don't necessarily have bad intentions, but sometimes the nice thing to do isn't the right thing to do. To do the right thing, the good thing, sometimes you have to make hard decisions. Sometimes you have to say what others don't want to hear, and that comes off as mean or rude. To quote his book, To My Friends, Neil A. Maxwell said, "Now, we must speak boldly to you because anything more subtle doesn't seem to work." Moving on from that, some questions to consider are, do you think that Alya, before she knew that Marinette was bawling her heart out upstairs, was right to spill the drink over so Marinette would take it as a sign to stop pursuing Adrien? Was it mean? Was it right? Is Alya's rage justified? Is Adrien actually flirting, or is Marinette a little too sensitive to her imagination? We haven't had the chapter where she and Alya sit down to talk about him and his cinnamon roll ways yet, but it's coming. This chapter might be written a bit prematurely, but I felt as though it wasn't the right time for the Analyze Adrien Agreste. Besides, Marinette's a smart girl. She knows that she shouldn't have a crush on a taken man. Now then, please enjoy the sneak peek at next week's part. Chapter 7 Sneak Peek, Misunderstood Messages. Adrien gets worried that Chloe is going to break up with him because of a message Ladybug sent him. Chloe gets worried that Adrien is going to break up with her because of a message he sends her. Also, Adrien thinks Alya is asking Nino out for an innocent date.